The forgotten power, hidden in a simple thank you. What if I told you that a single thought of gratitude could do more for your brain than months of effort-driven discipline? That the most powerful tool for transforming your life has been hiding in plain sight, masquerading as politeness, mistaken for sentimentality, and underestimated by almost everyone. Gratitude has been reduced to cliché, a word printed on mugs, stitched on throw pillows, tossed into inspirational quotes. Neuroscience tells a different story. Gratitude is not a mood. It's not even just an emotion. Gratitude is a switch, a real biological mechanism that alters the architecture of your brain and recalibrates the chemistry of your body. Every time you say thank you and mean it, every time you feel the depth of appreciation move through you, you're initiating an electrochemical event. Dopamine begins to rise, serotonin follows. The amygdala, responsible for fear and emotional reactivity, dims. The prefrontal cortex, your command center for conscious thought, lights up. Your brain isn't just observing gratitude, it's being rewired by it. And that's only the beginning. Ancient mystics knew this truth without needing brain scans. They called it presence. They called it reverence. In their temples and traditions, gratitude wasn't a gesture. It was a gateway, a key to align the soul with the rhythm of life itself. Neuroscience is only now catching up to what sages and shamans have always whispered. When you align with gratitude, you enter a different frequency of reality. But here's the twist. Most people never feel true gratitude. They mimic the behavior, but not the state. They say thank you out of habit, but their nervous system remains trapped in lack, resistance, survival. And so the rewiring never happens. This video isn't just a breakdown of scientific facts. It's an invitation to experience your own brain in real time, to understand why gratitude changes you at the deepest levels, and to awaken to the possibility that your reality, your perception, your emotional baseline can all be rewritten, not through effort, but through attention. Gratitude is not a reward you give life after things go well. It's the raw material you offer the moment so that life can open in return. This isn't philosophy, it's neurobiology. And it starts with remembering what you've forgotten, the immense untapped power in a sincere thank you. The gratitude circuit, mapping the brain's hidden feedback loop. When neuroscientists first began tracing the pathways of gratitude in the brain, they were surprised by what they found. Gratitude doesn't activate just one area. It awakens a whole network, a circuit designed to reinforce itself the more it is used. Think of it as your brain's built-in feedback loop for appreciation and reward. The journey begins in the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for awareness and conscious choice. Every time you choose to notice what you are thankful for, this region signals the ventral tegmental area, releasing dopamine, the brain's currency of motivation and pleasure. That surge doesn't stop there. It flows into the nucleus accumbens, amplifying the reward, then circles back to the prefrontal cortex, urging you to repeat the experience. This loop creates what scientists call positive reinforcement. Gratitude literally teaches the brain to crave more gratitude, but it doesn't end with dopamine. The hippocampus, guardian of memory, steps in, encoding these thankful moments as lasting experiences rather than fleeting sparks. The more they're recalled, the stronger the neural pathways become, sculpting the architecture of your brain. Meanwhile, the amygdala, the alarm system for fear, is soothed, reducing reactivity and lowering stress signals. Gratitude is not passive. It actively shifts the balance between survival mode and growth mode. What does this mean for your daily life? Imagine an internal GPS that constantly recalibrates. Without gratitude, your brain tilts toward threat detection, scanning for danger, focusing on what's missing. With gratitude, the loop redirects perception toward safety, abundance, and possibility. It's not about ignoring problems, it's about teaching your nervous system to see opportunity where before it only saw lack. Every time you practice gratitude, you're not just having a nice thought. You're strengthening a circuit, one that makes it easier and easier to enter states of calm, clarity, and creativity. Over weeks, this becomes self-sustaining. Gratitude fuels gratitude, creating an upward spiral that no pill or quick fix can replicate. Science reveals what wisdom traditions hinted at for centuries. When you give thanks, you trigger a feedback loop that rewires your reality from the inside out. Gratitude is not a momentary spark. It is a circuit, a living system within you waiting to be activated. Micro-gratitude, how tiny moments shape massive neural shifts. Most people imagine gratitude as a grand gesture, writing long lists, journaling for hours, or waiting for life's big blessings to arrive before saying thank you. But neuroscience shows us something radically different. It's the smallest sparks of gratitude that produce the most lasting change in the brain. These micro-moments work like drops of water carving stone, subtle but unstoppable over time. When you pause to appreciate the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the taste of a meal, or a word of kindness from a stranger, your nervous system records it. These seemingly ordinary acknowledgements trigger the same feedback loop as larger acts of gratitude, but in microdoses. Each moment strengthens glial cell activity, the caretakers of your neural network, cleaning and fortifying pathways so that your brain can fire with more precision. Myelin, the sheath that insulates neurons, also thickens with repetition, meaning gratitude not only sparks new connections, it protects them. This is the hidden power of micro-gratitude. It requires no ritual, no ceremony, no special timing. Instead, it's a continuous practice of catching reality in its rawest details and choosing to honor them. The science is clear. These micro-moments accumulate into structural changes that shape your baseline mood, memory, and resilience. And there's something even deeper. Micro-gratitude interrupts autopilot living. It pulls you out of the trance of rushing, worrying, and regretting, and anchors you in presence. Over time, this doesn't just change your state, it changes your identity. You no longer see yourself as someone reacting to life. You become the one who shapes how life feels. Tiny thank yous become the most powerful medicine you can offer your brain. One breath of appreciation at a time, you are building a mind that knows how to recognize beauty, even in the ordinary. And that recognition is what rewires everything. The shadow of thankfulness, gratitude. When life hurts. Gratitude is easy when life feels generous. When health is stable, relationships flow and opportunities open. Saying thank you comes almost naturally. But the real test of gratitude, the place where its deepest power is revealed, emerges in the shadows, in the moments when life fractures, when pain floods the system, when the last thing the mind wants to feel is appreciation. And yet, neuroscience shows us something extraordinary. In these states of brokenness, the brain is at its most plastic, most open to transformation. Trauma, grief, loss, they destabilize the circuits of the nervous system. Old pathways collapse. The familiar sense of identity crumbles. In that raw instability, something remarkable becomes possible. New wiring. If gratitude can be summoned, even faintly, in the middle of suffering, it doesn't just soothe the moment, it rewires at a level no comfort ever could. Scientists call this phenomenon post-traumatic growth, but we might call it post-traumatic gratitude. It's the alchemy of turning pain into possibility. This doesn't mean forcing false positivity. Gratitude in the shadow is not about denying suffering. It's about acknowledging it while still opening a window for meaning, connection, or even the smallest fragment of beauty. A broken body that can still breathe. A night of tears interrupted by one kind gesture. The mere fact that in the middle of chaos, consciousness still whispers, "I am here." When practiced in these depths, gratitude is no longer fragile. It becomes unshakable. Instead of being dependent on circumstances, it becomes a frequency independent of them. The brain begins to encode resilience, teaching itself that pain is not the end of the story, but the soil of renewal. The nervous system learns to hold grief and gratitude at once, and in that paradox, it becomes stronger, more expansive, more alive. This is the shadow gift of thankfulness, the ability to stand inside the storm, drenched, battered, and still find a pulse of reverence. Gratitude in the dark rewires not only how the brain functions, it reshapes what it means to be human. Gratitude is not an emotion, it's a frequency. Most people believe gratitude is just an emotion, a fleeting feeling that comes and goes depending on external circumstances. But neuroscience and biophysics suggest something far more profound. Gratitude behaves less like a passing mood and more like a frequency, a measurable state that reorganizes the entire nervous system. When you feel genuine thankfulness, your brain doesn't just light up with dopamine and serotonin. Your heart rhythms change, your breathing slows. Brainwave activity shifts toward coherence, meaning different regions of your brain begin to synchronize instead of firing chaotically. The heart and brain enter resonance, producing a state researchers call heart-brain synchronization. In this state, perception expands, decision-making sharpens, and stress signals decline dramatically. Gratitude as frequency is not metaphorical, it can be measured. High-frequency states of appreciation and love produce greater variability in heart rate, an indicator of resilience and adaptability. This isn't just feeling good, it's tuning your biology into alignment, much like tuning an instrument until it vibrates in harmony. When you practice gratitude, you're calibrating your body to a higher level of coherence. On a deeper level, some physicists and consciousness researchers suggest that this coherence may extend beyond the body. The observer effect in quantum theory reveals that intention alters outcomes at the most fundamental level of matter. Gratitude, as a coherent frequency, could be the bridge between subjective experience and objective change. While science is still exploring this frontier, the lived experience is undeniable. When you inhabit gratitude, reality feels, and often behaves, different. So what does this mean for you? Gratitude is not just a way to feel better. It's a frequency you can tune into, one that reorganizes your inner state and potentially your outer world. To live in gratitude is to live at a higher bandwidth of reality, where clarity, connection, and flow become the default instead of the exception. The anti-anxiety code. How gratitude interrupts fear. Loops. Anxiety is the brain's survival system running on overdrive. It loops through worst-case scenarios, keeps the amygdala firing, and convinces the nervous system that danger is everywhere, even when you're safe. But gratitude holds a key most people don't realize. It interrupts these loops at the biological level. When you enter a state of thankfulness, the amygdala, the alarm center of the brain, receives a signal of safety. Cortisol begins to drop, and adrenaline no longer floods your system unchecked. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex steps forward, taking the reins of thought and redirecting focus. This is not just calming, it's a neurological override. Gratitude shifts your brain from threat detection to conscious regulation, replacing spirals of fear with grounded clarity. What makes gratitude so powerful against anxiety is that it doesn't argue with fear, it rewires the circuitry beneath it. Think of it as flipping a breaker switch. Instead of feeding the loop of what if, gratitude reactivates the loop of what is. And the present moment, when fully acknowledged, is rarely as dangerous as the anxious brain imagines. Studies show that consistent gratitude practice lowers baseline levels of stress hormones, strengthens connections between the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex, and improves emotional regulation. Over time, this rewiring creates a nervous system less prone to panic, more resilient to stress, and more capable of returning to balance after being triggered. Gratitude becomes nature's built-in anti-anxiety code. It's not about denying fear or pretending everything is fine. It's about creating a neurological environment where fear loses its grip, where the brain has the choice to focus on trust, presence, and possibility. In this way, gratitude doesn't just ease anxiety, it teaches your brain how to live beyond it. Rewiring the narrative self. Gratitude and the default mode network. Deep inside the brain lies a system called the default mode network, a web of regions that becomes most active when the mind is idle, wandering, or ruminating. It's here that the story of me is constantly narrated, my past, my problems, my future fears. For many, this network becomes a prison, looping self-criticism, regret, and worry. But gratitude has the power to disrupt this cycle and rewrite the narrative self. When you practice thankfulness, activity in the default mode network begins to decrease. The endless chatter of I, me, mine is interrupted, replaced by networks associated with presence, empathy, and connection. Instead of obsessing over personal lack, the brain starts wiring toward appreciation of what exists now. Gratitude loosens the grip of ego, creating space for humility and perspective. Neuroimaging studies reveal that gratitude activates regions like the medial prefrontal cortex, which overlaps with the default mode network. But instead of fueling rumination, these areas shift into integration, bridging memory, meaning, and awareness. It's as if gratitude takes the pen from the ego and starts rewriting the story with a broader lens, one that includes others, life, and something greater than the self. This is why gratitude feels expansive. It dissolves the illusion of isolation the DMN reinforces. Instead of narrating yourself as the victim of circumstance, gratitude narrates you as part of a larger field of connection. Over time, this new story becomes your brain's baseline, reducing anxiety, increasing compassion, and freeing you from the endless loops of mental noise. Gratitude doesn't just reframe your story, it rewires the storyteller. Neuroalchemy, transmuting emotional baggage into gratitude. Gold. Every human carries emotional residue, unprocessed memories, old wounds, subtle disappointments stored like shadows in the nervous system. Left unattended, these imprints resurface as triggers, mood swings, or self-sabotage. But gratitude offers a form of modern alchemy, the ability to transform this baggage into a source of strength and coherence. Neuroscience reveals that when you bring gratitude into memory recall, the hippocampus, the brain's memory hub, engages differently. Instead of reactivating the old pain in isolation, it begins linking the experience to new emotional states. Pairing gratitude with a difficult memory softens the imprint, updating the nervous system's file with a more balanced perspective. The insula, the region that integrates emotions with bodily sensations, also lights up, signaling that the body has metabolized the experience rather than storing it as toxic residue. This is not about pretending the wound never happened. It's about reclaiming authorship over how it lives inside you. Gratitude doesn't erase the scar. It teaches the brain to perceive the scar as proof of survival, growth, and hidden wisdom. The emotional weight that once pulled you down becomes fuel for resilience. Think of it like refining metal. Pain is the raw ore, gratitude the fire that extracts gold from within it. With practice, your nervous system learns to reinterpret even the darkest chapters as part of a larger story of transformation. The past stops haunting you, it starts empowering you. In this way, gratitude is neuroalchemy. It converts heaviness into light, trauma into wisdom, memory into medicine. The baggage you thought would define you forever becomes the very material that elevates you. The gratitude field. How one brain changes the room. Gratitude is not confined to the mind that feels it. When you embody thankfulness, your brain becomes a transmitter, radiating signals that reshape the environment around you. Neuroscience points to mirror neurons, cells designed to reflect the emotional states of others. When you express gratitude, those neurons fire not only in your brain, but in the brains of those who witness it, allowing others to experience a trace of the state you inhabit. This is why gratitude spreads effortlessly. A simple, genuine thank you can lower tension, shift the tone of a conversation, and create trust without explanation. On a physiological level, your coherent heart rhythms and calmer nervous system become detectable to those near you. People subconsciously sync to your frequency, adopting a more regulated state just by being in your presence. Teams, families, and communities that practice gratitude together show measurable improvements in cooperation, problem-solving, and resilience. The collective field changes because gratitude reduces defensive posturing and increases empathy. One grateful brain doesn't just transform itself, it initiates coherence in others, creating a ripple effect that extends far beyond the individual. The implications are profound. Gratitude may be one of the most accessible tools for social healing, a subtle but powerful force that rewires not only personal consciousness, but collective dynamics. Each act of thankfulness strengthens a field of safety, connection, and possibility. In this sense, gratitude is not private. It is medicine for the collective nervous system. The practice of gratitude, training your brain through daily rituals. Knowing the power of gratitude is one thing. Living it, embodying it, and making it a habit that rewires your brain is something else entirely. Knowledge without practice is like a map you never follow. You see the destination, but never arrive. Gratitude, to transform you, must be woven into the fabric of your daily life. And one of the most effective ways to do this is through a simple, timeless tool, the gratitude journal. Here's how it works. Choose a notebook that feels personal, something you dedicate exclusively to this practice. Place it near your bed so that every night before you close your eyes, it becomes part of your ritual. This timing matters. As you drift into sleep, your subconscious mind reviews the last thoughts of your day, and those impressions sink deep, shaping how your brain integrates memory and prepares for the next morning. Gratitude written before sleep programs your nervous system to rest in safety, abundance, and coherence. Start each entry with a short paragraph about yourself or your life in general, expressing thanks for who you are becoming, for the opportunities around you, or for aspects of your existence you may often overlook. It could be as simple as, "I am grateful for my health and the way my body carries me each day," or "I am grateful for the chance to grow, even in moments of challenge." This opening act reinforces self-appreciation and expands your identity beyond lack. Then write down 5 specific things you are grateful for from that day. They don't need to be dramatic. In fact, the smaller and more ordinary, the more powerful the practice becomes. A good conversation, the smile of a stranger, a warm meal, a safe place to rest. These details activate micro-gratitude, those subtle sparks that accumulate into long-term neural shifts. By naming them, you are telling your brain, "This matters. Remember this. Wire this in." As you repeat this practice nightly, the effect compounds. Within weeks, your brain begins scanning your days differently, not for what is missing, but for what can be acknowledged. The journal becomes more than a record. It becomes a training ground for perception itself. And soon, gratitude stops being an exercise and becomes your natural way of seeing the world. The truth is simple. The mind is always being trained. The only question is, what are you training it to notice? A gratitude journal is not homework. It's the blueprint of a new brain, one that learns to sleep in peace, wake in possibility, and carry appreciation into every choice. You are the sculptor. Thankfulness as a tool of conscious evolution. Every thought, every emotion, every repeated pattern leaves a trace on the brain. Over time, these traces shape who you believe yourself to be. But gratitude offers you something revolutionary: the power to become the sculptor of your own neural architecture. With every moment of sincere appreciation, you carve away at old circuits of fear, lack, and self-doubt, and you strengthen the pathways of trust, connection, and meaning. This is not metaphor. Neuroplasticity proves the brain rewires itself in response to repeated experience. Gratitude is one of the rare practices that doesn't just heal what is broken. It amplifies what is possible. It transforms the nervous system into an instrument tuned toward higher coherence, clarity, and resilience. It sharpens perception so that opportunities once invisible come into view. And it expands your sense of self beyond survival into conscious participation with life itself. Ancient wisdom and modern science converge here. Mystics taught that a grateful heart opens portals to the divine. Neuroscience shows that gratitude changes perception, memory, and emotion at the cellular level. Together, they reveal a truth too powerful to ignore. Gratitude is not just about being thankful for what you have. It is about awakening to who you can become. So the question is no longer whether gratitude matters. The question is, will you choose to wield it? Each thank you is a chisel strike against the stone of limitation. Each moment of appreciation is a brushstroke painting a new reality. Gratitude is not the reward for evolution, it is the tool of it. And in your hands lies that tool right now. The sculptor is awake. The masterpiece is waiting. The future is already being shaped by the frequency you choose in this moment.